evening, everyone. I'm calling the meeting to order at 7 p.m. City of Fraser Planning Commission meeting, December 6, 2023. We'll go to agenda item 1, or agenda item 2, roll call. Ms. Grenier, would you do the roll call, please?
Were we going to say the pledge? I'm so sorry.
Oh, the Pledge of Allegiance.
I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yep.
Yes, I need to be reminded. Thank you. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Grenier. I've lost my little puzzle sheet here, and that's what I'm doing, trying to find it.
You want to look at
So,
mine?
agenda item 2 is going to be, that's not what I want. Is the approval of, is the roll call
Commissioner Barr,
here?
Chair Zarnicki,
Here.
Commissioner Farina,
Here.
Commissioner Kyle,
Here.
Commissioner Meyer,
Here.
Commissioner Warnock.
Here.
Quorum present. And I'm going to ask anybody, please, to turn off their cell phones or put them on silent mode before we, after we've begun the meeting. And agenda item 3 is the approval of the agenda, December 6, 2023. Open that up for discussion, and if there is none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the agenda.
I'll approve.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Farina and supported by Commissioner Kyle to approve the agenda as printed. Roll call, please, Ms. Green.
Commissioner Barr,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
to approve the agenda. To approve the agenda,
Oh, yes, of course.
okay? Chair Zarnicki,
Yes.
Commissioner Farina,
Yes.
Commissioner Kyle,
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Warnock.
Yes.
Motion carries. Agenda item number 4 is the chairperson's opening remarks. Tonight's meeting will follow the agenda that was posted online and has been printed for you here and is available at the entrance of the room. It is important to let everyone know the Planning Commission is created by state law. The commission is comprised of 7 members, all of whom have volunteered to serve. Members are appointed by the mayor and confirmed by City Council. The role of the Planning Commission is to plan and promote the efficient, coordinated development of the city for the health, safety, and general welfare of its residents. We are not here to negotiate with applicants or allow everything an applicant is requesting. However, the Planning Commission does have the power to approve certain requests and recommend others, depending on the nature of the request and whether all of the standards of the zoning ordinance have been met. The Planning Commission may also impose conditions on a proposed project in order to ensure that those standards are met. Other individuals seated here this evening are the city's legal representative from O'Reilly Rancilio, Alyssa Erickson, and city planner from McKenna and Associates, Lauren Sayre. We have no public hearings this evening, so I will skip that portion of my opening remarks. We'll go to agenda item 5, approval of the minutes, November 1, 2023. Is there any discussion on the minutes as prepared? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as prepared.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes from the November 1st, 2023 meeting as printed. I'll support.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Kyle and support by Commissioner Warnock to approve the November 1, 2023 minutes as printed. Ms. Grenier, please.
Commissioner Barr,
Yes.
Chair Zarnicki,
Yes.
Commissioner Farina,
Yes.
Commissioner Kyle,
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Warnock.
Yes.
Motion carries. Agenda item 6, new business, public notices. There are none. Agenda 6B, site plan and other. Number 1 is the adopt the 2024 meeting calendar.
So I prepared for you this item and attached the calendar for 2024 of the meeting dates that follow, I believe, the bylaws and are customary of being the first Wednesday of each month at 7 p.m. I feel like you guys are probably one of the few that don't have a lot of big conflicts. I do see you have a meeting scheduled for July 3rd. I didn't know if you were perhaps looking at changing that in case somebody was going. That tends to be a week people may be gone, they may be going out of town, but other than that, I think most of those dates look pretty good.
I agree, Ms. Greenie. I think the other date that might be a conflict is January 3rd. Those were the only two that I noted was the January and the July meeting. Anybody have any comments?
I have a problem with July, but January 3rd for this board is fine with me.
It's fine.
I agree with the July 3rd one.
The July-
Usually, we'd have an alternate listed.
Right.
So what is our alternate?
The third
So
Monday.
Alyssa had brought that up too, and it would be the third Thursday, correct?
Third Monday, I
Monday.
Third
believe.
Monday.
Monday?
third Monday.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think that's been historically what the planning commission has done. I don't know if,
So
Ms.
the
Greenie, if you have
Monday
any
is the 8th.
input, if that would
22nd.
change because of other boards and commission schedules.
That's the way it was. But
Third
there-
Monday. So currently, the only board that meets on a Monday is the Historical Commission, and they meet at the depot. So they
Oh.
would not be here, so that would not interfere
Okay.
with the use of the chamber. I believe we'd still be fine if you wanted to give me those dates when someone decides when you're meeting.
Well, I did make a note that the third Monday in July is July 15, and it's Martin Luther King Day, and I don't know if City Hall is open that day. If it's a holiday.
Yeah.
So last year, the clerical, I believe, and one other union was not here, but all of us, the department heads, were here.
It always has been that Martin Luther King Day and Columbus Day were waived so that the employees could take their anniversary date or their birthday. That's the way it was. I don't know if that's the same.
So what does that mean?
No more.
No
So the
more of that.
15th is good?
So the 15th, as far as I understand, I will be here, and the office will be open. So if you wanted to shoot for the 15th, that would work.
Okay,
Okay.
that's fine.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, shouldn't we set up alternates for the entire year?
You-
Commissioner Farina, I think that's a given, that the alternate date is the third Monday
Okay,
of each month if we don't meet on the first Wednesday of each month.
okay, and there's no other conflicts then?
I did not see any other conflict. So the board is okay with the January 3rd meeting, as I understand, and we will be changing the July 3rd to July 15th. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to do that. Or I can move. I'll move to, approve the 2024 meeting dates as printed by Ms. Greenia, with one exception. The July 3rd meeting will be the third Monday of the month, July 15, 2024.
I'll support that.
Okay, it's been moved by Chair Zarnecki and support by Commissioner Warnick to approve the 2024 meeting dates with one exception, the July 3rd meeting. Ms. Greenia, would you do a roll call, please?
Commissioner Barr,
Yes.
Chair Zarnecki,
Yes.
Commissioner Farina,
Yes,
Commissioner Kyle,
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Warnick.
Yes.
Motion carries. Agenda item number 7, unfinished business, discussion of the sign ordinance. Ms. Seer.
Thank you, Chair Zarnicki. So here's the schedule again, and as you can see, we're on December 6th, and so tonight we'll be talking about enforcement, and then also permanent freestanding signs and wall signs. Before we do that, are there any comments on the draft ordinance text that was in your packet from the October meeting?
I thank you, Ms. Seer, for that recap. Thank you very much. I thought it was excellent, so I don't know if anybody else had comments.
I did want to circle back to the the changing electronic message boards and the timing, and I'm flipping to that page now. Apologies.
is that item 3?
It is.
Yes.
So as per the commission's request last month, I did look at some peer community standards. Roseville specifies 10 seconds, Sterling Heights 10 seconds, East Point 10 seconds, Clinton Township 1.5, and then Warren is 30. So just, I guess, food for thought, or if anyone has any comments about the 30 that's proposed, if that's adequate, or if they would want to change that.
Commissioner Farina, Commissioner Warnick, I know you both were discussing it last time.
Yeah.
Warren has 30 seconds, but the rest of them are much less than that.
Yes. So we're on the higher end, right?
Yeah. As a planner, do you have any particulars there, Lauren? I mean, do you think it's better to go at 10 seconds or 30 seconds? I mean, does it,
I think a lot more signs would be in compliance if it was 10. I think there's a lot of signs that are not including, including like a lot of the signs just around even City Hall, so.
even at City Hall? Okay.
So I would say the 10 seems to be more what the surrounding communities are doing, but also what the kind of industry standard seems to be.
More of a universal amount of time.
I don't have a problem with changing it, if that's what we want to do.
Feedback from my board here. What do you?
I think 10 is plenty.
10's good?
Yes.
10 is
Warnick?
good. 10 is good. We might, we might even think of 15, just, we're still a lot better than 30. But here's the way I look at it. This is one of those things that it would be nice to have some sign companies involved or something too, with giving us some of reasons why not, or why different things, and get their input on some of this stuff. But for us just talking about it now, it's still going to be adopted or something.
Sure, we
You know,
can
it can always change.
Changes it.
But I think that's a good direction, either the 10 or the 15. So I'm open to whatever the board is.
I try to look at how do we police it? Does the city police it? And if we adopt something, I mean, in truth, it's not policed because most of those signs are on at night and there's no city official out inspecting at night. So,
I would think it's probably complaint-driven, is what
Yeah.
I'm thinking. If somebody calls in and says,
yeah.
you know, it's way too fast, way too slow.
And it's usually just telling them that they're in non-compliance and they'll change it.
Oh,
But-
okay. It's that simple.
Yeah, they're not going to go against it because it isn't going to stand in
Right,
court.
they want a sign.
They don't want a ticket or anything. They want to keep their sign, but they're going to try to get away with things, and it'll happen. There'll be some that'll keep it for a minute up there.
Okay.
I do know that Mr. Logan has been enforcing the 30-second lately.
30?
Yeah, per the current ordinance.
Okay, okay,
Or, yeah. I believe it's-
okay. Commissioner Meyer, do you have any comments?
No.
Commissioner Barr, any comments?
No comments on that.
Okay. Want to change it to 10?
Sure, we can change it to 10 in the draft, sure.
One question, I'm sorry. When we say 10 seconds, does it have to change every 10 seconds, or leave it longer, or?
It doesn't have to, that's the
So
minimum.
no less than
That's-
10?
Or less than 10, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, then I'm good with that.
Okay. Let's go with 10.
All right, sounds good, thank you. So now we'll get into the enforcement, and there are 9 recommendations. Some of these get lengthy, so bear with me. All right. The first one is the city may remove any non-temporary sign which violates any provisions of this section if the owner upon whose property the sign is located fails to make the sign conform to the provisions of the section within 48 hours of an issuance of written notice of violation. The second one is, with respect to temporary or portable signs, in the absence of a prior permission having been granted by the property owner for the immediate removal of the sign in violation, the city may remove any such sign which violates any provisions of this section if the owner upon whose property the sign is located fails to make the sign conform to the provisions of the ordinance within 4 hours of personal notice as defined below, or within 48 hours of issuance of notice as defined below. City officials may mark offending signs in a manner reasonably required for future identification. In the event that a marked sign is moved to another location and such move does not cure the violation, The city shall not be required to give any additional notice before impounding the sign as a nuisance pursuant to the terms of this article. So I'll pause there for some digestion, maybe discussion.
I was questioning the third column, I'm sorry, where it says, marking a sign may not be a permitted option in light of relatively recent case law involving chalking tires. Can you just kind of tell me what that's about?
Yeah, so I spoke with Mr. Denault about that comment. He indicated that recently there was a case that was that provided that police couldn't chalk tires. He indicated that there was perhaps a suggestion by the court that you couldn't mark signs either. So when we're drafting language, we'll be sure to ensure that anything that's within that court case is obviously complied with the zoning ordinance.
Okay.
But just kind of food for thought, I guess, is why
Okay,
it was included.
all right, thanks.
That went through, the chalking?
I believe so, yes. Yeah, so.
I did that all the time.
Well, it's my understanding that the chalking was in terms of police doing it to vehicles. But there may be some language in there that we'll just take a look at when we're providing language, of course.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Item number 1, it says the city may remove any temporary sign. And should that be at the expense of the owner? We charge them for, if we have to go out and fix their problem? Number 1.
I would say yes, and so that's okay, noted. To include that.
Good call there, Mr. Farina.
What
It is specified later, Mr. Farina,
is it?
in a later provision, yeah.
Oh,
In number 7, if you're jumping ahead.
sometimes you have to kind of follow through.
Yeah, it is hard to sometimes present it all in,
I wonder if we should, if, in the ordinance itself, if it should be asterisks like that to look past that one paragraph to, further, so you know where to look, where it might.
when we're drafting it, we can definitely make reference to the
References,
sections,
yeah.
yes, yep. Any other comments on these two?
Go ahead, Ms. Sierra.
Right, thank you. Number 3, in the case of any sign which is located in, projects into, or overhangs a public right-of-way or public easement in violation of the section, the city may remove said sign without notice. Signs impounded under this subsection will be logged and stored by the city for retrieval by their owner. Before any removed sign is returned to its owner, a fee as determined by the city shall be paid for the removal, storage, and reclamation. Any sign which is removed in accordance with the section shall be deemed abandoned if its owner or the person responsible for the sign does not reclaim it within 10 days of the date of removal, after which the city may dispose of the sign without further notice.
Good.
Is there a certain fee chart that, or does it vary according to the size of the sign or anything like that, or standard fee?
I would say we would have to develop the fee chart, and we'd probably, again, look to kind of peer communities for that.
Okay. I think we're all set.
All right, next one. So, number 5, for purposes of the subsection, issuance of notice is defined to include any of the following: facsimile, electronic mail, or first-class mail transmission of notice of a violation to either a person or committee mentioned on the sign or to the person responsible for placing the sign or to the property owner. Posting of notice of violation on or reasonably near the sign which is in violation, so long as the posting is conspicuous from the distance at which the sign is generally readable. Posting of a notice of a violation on or reasonably near one or more entrances of a habitable building on the same property as the sign, so long as the posting is conspicuous. And transmission of a telephonic message which indicates that a violation exists and which offers a brief explanation of the nature of the violation recorded on an answering system or either a person or committee mentioned on the sign or to the person responsible for placing the sign or to the property owner.
Any comments? Go ahead.
For the purpose of the subsection, personal notice means personal contact by a code enforcement officer or other duly authorized agent of the city with either a person mentioned on the sign, the person responsible for placing the sign, the property owner, or the property owner's authorized representative or resident agent. Personal contact means that the officer or agent initiated a person-to-person conversation or some other real-time communication via electronic means where the officer or agent communicated the existence of the violation and a brief explanation of its nature.
Ms. Sarah, explain to me who the authorized agent of the city is. Is it somebody that the code enforcement officer on staff, appoints throughout the, year, or, who?
I think it would more so mean a building inspector or the building manager is able to as well have the authority to do that, not just the code enforcement.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Sarah.
All right, number 7, for the purposes of the subsection, the phrase "person responsible" for a temporary sign is the person who places the sign, unless the person first notifies the city clerk's office in writing of another person who is responsible. Persons responsible for political campaign signs also include the candidate for which the political office advertised on the sign, unless the candidate first notifies the city's clerk's office in writing of another person who is responsible, and the property owner. In a campaign regarding a ballot measure, the president or chair of the committee supporting or opposing the ballot measure, as well as the property owner, shall be deemed the responsible person unless the city's clerk's office is notified in writing of another person who is responsible. The person who places the sign, the candidate, or the president as applicable, must provide the name, address, telephone number, and signed consent of the other responsible person. The persons residing or located outside Michigan may not be designated as responsible persons. The person placing the sign, or in the case of a political campaign signs, the candidate, or in the case of a ballot measure, the committee, president, or chair, or each of these cases, the other responsible person, if so designated, shall be liable to pay any fees or cost incurred for the removal and storage of illegal signs upon retrieval. This subsection shall not be construed to place responsibility upon responsible persons for the civil infraction or misdemeanor violations of the city code.
Question? When do they have to notify the city clerk's office? Is it prior to putting the signs up? Is it perhaps the day they're putting them up?
My understanding would be prior.
Okay.
I think we're all clear to go.
All right, last 2. So any company or individual which files a false affidavit or application for any reason relating to signage under this section shall be guilty of a misdemeanor punishable in accordance with the penalties applicable to misdemeanor set forth in Chapter 1 of the City Code. And owners, lessors, and lessees may all be held equally responsible for violations of this section. Any overall questions?
What I didn't hear was anything about maintenance of the sign. In the previous draft that I asked you to find that we can't find, there was a provision that the sign would be licensed or in place for a period of 10 years, at which time the sign had to be re-inspected and deemed safe and still, in a good working order or good, so it doesn't look like garbage for.
Yeah, I'm not entirely, I don't exactly remember if there was something specific about a time frame and reinspection in this new draft language, but I think the first line about any sign that's not in compliance with the ordinance, and when we go back to when we were talking about maintenances and signs in good repair in the earlier sessions, so if it's not in good repair, then it is held to that and could be noticed violation.
I think what we were trying to get at the other time is that could also generate income for doing that by having them have to reapply for another sign. Now, I don't say that that's a valid thing, but that was the thought at the time. But if we're happy with, this being able to give the code enforcement people enough teeth to make sure the signs are in good working order, then I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Did I understand you, Commissioner Farina, that there's specified times that the sign is inspected? Did you say 10 years?
Well, that's when the sign ordinance, as I recall it, that never got adopted, had a time limit in it.
Did have a time
Randy
limit.
remembers that, yeah.
It just never, it's never adopted, so it wasn't enforced. But there were some good points with stuff like that because of the change in the way things are. And, you can look at different things like ground signs versus, pylon. And that would give some teeth into making a change to start requiring something else, is if we look at it in 10 years or whatever and say, well, the ordinance has changed and now you have to, but you couldn't make them change it before that 10 years.
See, the other thing that ordinance, the committee went out and looked at all these signs, and we decided that we wanted pylon signs as the standard, because it was a more professional look than,
Oh, you wanted ground signs?
yeah, ground,
Not
I'm sorry, yes, I misspoke that. Ground signs rather than pylon signs, which make it look more, I don't know.
More modern, I think, and,
More aesthetically pleasing, maybe?
yeah,
or-
Yes.
and a consistency there.
And
Right.
I'm going to say it's kind of a standard.
Yeah.
Right. Is that anywhere in this, Lauren?
On the pylon signs and freestanding?
On the monument signs, the ground signs?
Yeah, so freestanding signs, I think, is going to encompass that, and we can
Okay.
have further discussions on if some of the standards are a little too high or,
Okay. Thank you.
Is there any wording on section of the signs? A certain time?
I don't believe, I have to recheck, but I don't believe there's specific wording about, has to be re-inspected every 5 years or 10 years.
And we're okay with that? Gentlemen? I'm looking to you guys because I don't know.
Yeah, I think it just gives us more teeth,
Right.
like you said,
Right,
to have it in, and it would be under that part, the enforcement part,
right, exactly.
even though it's not, it's an inspection more than it is enforcement until it becomes then enforcement, I guess.
Right.
So I don't know if it
Until
would
there's a-
fall into that.
So there's a violation,
Yeah,
until they find a violation.
But does that automatically, are we saying that if they have a pylon sign and after 10 years, we say, well, now you have to change it and make it a monument sign? Or are we saying that if it's in disrepair, then it forces you to go to a monument sign? Are we trying to eliminate the pylon signs with that enforcement?
No,
Okay.
we're trying to go to or monument signs. There are certain places you're gonna have pylon signs, like Groesbeck,
Right.
you're gonna have pylon signs,
it's the only way you'll see them,
right,
really.
right.
And a lot of to do
But
with
down here,
miles per hour.
let's say right down at the funeral home, he's got a ground sign. And I think that is much more pleasing in this kind of environment than high-up signs.
Right.
Even the gas stations have gone to ground signs for their pricing,
Sure.
So
We're not
I
talking.
don't know how to say that, but that's what the look that, you know, I would be looking for would be a more aesthetic look in the non-commercial areas of the city.
I would say that's something to look at, because next month is nonconformity. And that would fall under that, too. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's something to think about. I think we should be looking at and trying to make a quick decision while we're up here. I mean, it's not adopted or anything, but, I mean, it's one of those items I think about for the next meeting.
You know, I agree with, I like the lower signs better, but if somebody opened a business and paid thousands and thousands of dollars for a sign up high, and
Right.
10 years later, we tell them that they can't have it no more, I don't think that that's right. Now, for all new ones, I don't have a problem with going to all ground signs. I agree, I like them better. But, like I said, you can't.
Well, if you have a business, you still have the right to have a sign on your building,
Right.
which is up. The other sign, if you want another sign, then it would be ground, unless there was some, I guess they would have to come in for a variance, would be my thought.
Yeah, I agree.
If
There's
you
a
want
lot of-
something Other than ground.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not talking about new ones, I'm talking about existing ones.
There's a lot of things come into play, like neighboring properties, a pylon might block their sign, but they don't give it any consideration. They don't care about their sign, they care about their own sign.
Right.
So there's issues like that, which are saying, well, it just gives us teeth again, like I said, to go after somebody or to say that we can't allow you to do this or whatever. It can go a lot of different ways. I mean, you get some people upset because in their vision of the way they want their business, and all of a sudden you come in and say, well, you can't do this, but everybody else has it all around.
But to me, the gold standard for signage and companies that want to look good is that medical supply company up in,
Healthmark?
yes. And they've done just a phenomenal job in making that site look professional and nice, and, you know, that's what I always kind of look to as a gold standard, what they've done.
Do you have an idea what we want, Miss Sarah? I'm not sure.
I don't think we do either.
No.
Do you want to come, put your thoughts together and come back with some wording as to maybe to,
Yeah, so I mean, my initial thought on the old versus new is that the nonconformity section would probably, as long as you don't enlarge the nonconformity, those signs can be repaired and replaced as long as the same dimensions. And but I will look into more on the permit inspections.
okay.
At a regular basis.
Let me ask, Alyssa, Don wrote up a lot of this from other things, could you ask him maybe or you look into it? You've heard what we want to go to, how we should be phrasing that or wording that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Ready to go.
All right, so now on to freestanding signs, and there are 12 items under this to consider. First, in all developments that require site plan approval pursuant to the city's site plan approval requirements, one permanent freestanding sign shall be permitted except as otherwise provided herein.
Page 22.
Permanent freestanding sign shall not exceed 15 feet in height as measured from the approved grade. No sign shall be installed within the required corner clearance area established in this ordinance, nor within the corner clearance area created by the two lines of the existing or proposed, whichever is greater, right-of-way lines of the exterior streets and the curb line of a non-residential entranceway and the straight line connecting them at points 10 feet distant from where the right-of-way lines intersect. And the exception is the site distance triangle may be extended by the city to conform to minimum MDOT site distance standards, or in situations when the city planner determines that an extension is required for public safety due to topography, road alignment, or other physical conditions of the area. Any comments? All right. Number 4, freestanding signs shall be designed to be compatible with the architecture and approved masonry. Oh, Mr. Farina?
Freestanding signs in commercial areas, I can understand 15 feet high, but in regular areas, do we want 15 feet high? I mean, that's a pretty big thing standing up there. Or do we want 6 feet high? Better sight lines, makes it, the whole city look more open, you know, but that's just something to think about.
Yeah.
It is very high.
Yeah.
15 feet, it's very high.
I'm just thinking how tall a semi is if the sign's close to
Right.
the driveway.
That's why you could look at different roads, different ways, and zoning districts.
So it might be beneficial, the current ordinance separates it, well, the current ordinance separates it by what type of road it fronts, and the speed limit and how many lanes. So maybe it'd be beneficial to specify by zoning district or.
Okay. You okay with that, gentlemen?
All right. Freestanding signs shall be designed to be compatible with the architecture and approved masonry materials used on the principal building. All permanent freestanding signs shall be monument style with a brick or decorative stone base with no exposed poles which have a minimum of 2 feet or 20% of the total height of the sign and base, whichever is greater. The height of the base for the permanent freestanding sign shall not exceed 1.5 times the width of the sign. Up to 1/3 of the permitted freestanding sign may consist of electronic message board or changeable copy area. For developments having more than one frontage on a major or secondary thoroughfare, having a right-of-way of at least 86 feet or greater, one freestanding sign shall be permitted to be located on either frontage, provided the distance between the two signs is not less than 500 feet measured along the abutting right-of-way line. Permanent freestanding signs are not permitted on single-family residential properties, with the exception of residential subdivision identification signs as permitted in this section.
Okay, I have a question there. What if somebody has a home business, like a lawyer? You know, are they allowed to put a sign out at that point?
That's a good question. I will definitely make a note of that and look at what we have proposed. That is a very, very good point.
I went into that when I started my business, and there were all the rules and all that kind of stuff. So I ended up deciding just put a sign on the house or in the office and be done with it. It was easier, there were no problems.
That was all you were allowed. So, because home occupations, it is still considered, no matter what the occupation is, it's still a home occupation because you live there. So that was the only way you could do it, was put a sign up to 6 square feet or 4 square feet, whatever it was, on the building.
No, that wasn't what I was told at the time, because it isn't a house.
Oh, as long as it's not a house.
Oh, no, it's like a duplex. There's one half is houses and then it's 1,000 square feet are offices.
Yeah,
No, it's absolutely a business.
yeah, that's the difference. The home occupation
Right,
is
but
run
there were
out of
so
the
many
house.
rules and regulations, I just said, put the sign on the house and be done with it. You know, on the office door, you know, because I have doors to each one and I put it by the office.
Mr. Farina, just to clarify, you're referring to home occupations, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, if, you know, we have people who are licensed for home children sitting, you know.
Like a child care,
Daycare.
something like that, that's within the home. Okay, yeah, that's a very, very good point.
Is home occupation not identified within the ordinance already?
It is in the regular ordinance, but I don't see it in this one.
Okay, yeah,
I don't remember it.
I'm not saying we need a separate section, I'm just saying it should be addressed.
Yeah, we'll look into it.
All right.
Off-premise signs are prohibited. Freestanding signs on non-residential properties must relate to the business, activity, or service conducted on the premise upon which the sign is placed. Freestanding off-premise signs for business tenants, if part of a unified development where separate parcels exist, so long as no other freestanding sign already exists on the parcel where the freestanding off-premise sign is proposed. And public signs, warning signs, and permitted directional signs. I guess these are, A and B are exceptions. I apologize. That's clear exceptions, yeah. The maximum size of a freestanding monument sign may be increased by 20% up to a maximum of 16 square feet, provided the owner of the property agrees in a recorded document to irrevocably dedicate that additional dedicated square footage of the monument sign to solely advertise that space is available for rent, lease, occupancy, or sale. Permanent freestanding signs may be located in the required front yard if they are at least 12 feet from the existing or planned public right-of-way, whichever is greater, as shown in the master road plan, or at least 5 feet back from the curb or pavement of any private street. Permanent freestanding signs shall not be located in the required side yard or required rear yard. Temporary freestanding signs may be located in the required front yard if they are at least 5 feet from the public right-of-way as shown on the master road plan, or at least 5 feet back from the curb or pavement of any private street. A permanent freestanding sign shall not be closer than 100 feet from any adjacent single or two-family zoning district or 50 feet from an off-site sign. The maximum size of a freestanding sign there's a placeholder for the districts, and on properties used for purposes that are only permitted in those districts shall not exceed 1 square foot for each 2 linear feet of street frontage to which the sign is oriented. In no instance shall the frontage of 2 or more streets be combined in computing the maximum size permitted. The maximum size for any freestanding sign shall be 150 square feet. A freestanding sign may include the electronic message board, provided the requirements set forth in this section and the 4 electronic message boards are met. Apologies. Thank you. Any general questions?
So we're basically going in this whole section, we're allowing electronic message boards without having to go for a variance by adding that into here.
We're allowing 1/3 of the total
1/3,
sign.
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, so what it says, but before they couldn't even have one unless it went for a variance.
I think the ordinance currently says 1/2, 50%.
It was half, up to so many square feet, but only with a variance, wasn't it?
I don't think so. I think it's just
Wasn't that
50% presently.
I don't remember that, Randy. I really.
Thought they couldn't have a changeable copy unless they got a variance before.
Oh, way back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But I think that we recommended something in the.
We
in the
changed that
city-
in there?
Yeah, and the city adopted that.
I've been away from it for a while. But at least it's good that it's in here. It allows everybody, because it's
Right.
more modern technology, they should be allowed to have it, and it at least reduces the size. So I like the 3rd.
This is going to be a little bit off topic, but have you noticed that string lights around the windows, all LED rope lights around the windows of stores? I thought that was not allowed. Is that allowed under this?
I thought it was, I thought it was too, but then when I was looking through the ordinance for Mr. Logan one day, I couldn't find anything that fell under it for
I never
enforcement.
did. It was neon lights. So they called it neon only, and then all of a sudden they come.
Well, there weren't LEDs when that was written.
No. No. So it was only neon at that time because it was a tube
Right.
lighting. And then all of a sudden, we get these rope lights of LED that everybody starts putting around, and they're just as bright as the neon ones.
Right.
And they can do all kind of chasing and everything. And we just never, nobody ever addressed it then. So I don't know if there's,
Are we
if there
gonna-
needs to be some regulations on that.
Are we going to address that someplace?
I believe we did earlier when we were talking about kind of like festoon signs and that at the very beginning. I can circle back and make sure it's explicitly stated.
I would appreciate it.
In the draft, your draft.
Yeah.
right? I think we did discuss
I
it.
thought we
Talking about
did.
It, it is getting hard to keep them all straight.
We did talk.
Yeah, we did mention that before.
Trust me, the older you get, the harder.
That is for sure.
I agree.
What did he say?
You just got me.
All right, we'll move on to our last topic tonight, which is wall signs. So there's a little bit of an intro into it. For the uses other than residential and residential zoning districts, there shall be allowed one wall sign with a maximum area of 32 square feet, or one freestanding sign with a maximum area of 32 square feet and not exceeding 7 feet in height. The maximum size of wall signage, again, placeholder for districts, for buildings and for individual tenant spaces shall not exceed 10% of the total area of the structure frontage, including the area of all fenestration, and in no instance shall the sign area of all wall signage exceed 200 square feet. A wall sign may be located on the front, rear, or side facade of the building. Wall signs shall not extend above the top of the parapet wall or an eave line at the wall, whichever is higher.
I'm going to ask a question. Is Eve line, is that the correct spelling of Eve, or should it
Is
be
that-
EAVE?
It's EAVE.
EAVE.
It's EAVE.
The architect says EAVE.
EAVE. Thank you, appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
This maximum wall signage, districts and properties for the purpose of 10% of the total area. So that means that we're not going to have any set, I thought it says 32 square feet is the sign above, and now down here, if it's 10% of these, that mean it's allowable more than 32 square feet? Am I-
I think the 32 is just for uses, non-residential uses in residential districts.
Okay. Did I miss that? Does it say that? Oh, residential, yes, it does, sorry. I even have a chat about that.
You okay?
But the other one allowing, it says it can be on any side, front, or rear. That one doesn't limit it to one. It goes by percentage of the total area. So they could put a corner, one could put a sign on both sides and just make them smaller to meet this ordinance, right? Am I right on that?
That is how it's written, yeah.
Yeah, because that never used to be, but.
But what would they be allowed to have? Two 32 square foot things, or? two
Well, it's up
signs
to 200
to-
square feet, up to 200, according to this. It can't exceed 200, 10% of the wall area.
Okay. So they could exceed the 32 then?
Yeah, that was only in that district, the residential, yeah, other than residential in residential zoning districts.
So you're going to list the districts there, that's what it says, right?
Yeah, that one has it by district, so. It's just confusing when you look at it this way, but
Yeah.
I just still trying to visualize what could they do? They could put signs on all three sides.
And
On three sides, say the parking lot's on one side, and then 2 corners, so they can get 3 signs without having to go for variances.
We had one case come up where the building was huge, and a 32 square foot sign.
Look too small.
Yeah. it looked out
That was the
out of
corner
place.
of Masonic and Grosbeck.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Visionary.
Yep. Okay.
We're ready, I think.
All right, this one is just this slide, so, a wall sign shall be installed only on the wall of the tenant space to which the sign pertains and shall be aesthetically and thematically compatible with the building. Other wall signs, other wall signs, and overall development of the parcel and nearby properties.
How do you define, I mean, what if I say, I think it's there, and you say, I don't think it's there? How do we prove our point in court?
Yeah, I agree.
So it should be reworded somehow? Ms. Attorney, how do you word that?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to take notes and, okay. What specifically are we looking for in number 1? Or number 2? Are we number 2, number 1?
Taking out the aesthetically.
Aesthetically?
theme,
Right.
Yeah,
Who
because it's not really enforceable.
Right.
How do you determine whether it's aesthetically?
That's true. We could probably just rephrase that to include more objective characteristics rather than subjective characteristics.
Yeah.
Maybe harmoniously, other kind of objective words that we use within the zoning ordinance.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was just thinking about this today, how somebody could just come and just do their own
Graffiti
weird,
almost.
yeah, like, and it'd look like graffiti, and, well, that's the way they represent their company, but is it aesthetically pleasing? I thought, how do you control that? The only real way would be to, every one of them's got to come in front of a board or something when it gets to like that, but you're not going to do that either. So, who determines, who's the ultimate person that determines that?
I'm not sure that the
We
city.
give it to the city clerk and let her decide.
Well, there's
So
another,
funny.
there's another job. You don't have enough.
We don't have enough, no.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that the city has the authority to make those decisions, because there's more than that. There's state, there's federal, there's a lot of things you have to take into account.
I mean, you think the business really wants to look professional, but I don't know, there's some weird businesses out there now that I think they just do anything to attract. It's like, painting the corner gas station purple that time or something.
I
Yeah.
can see it.
That attracted people,
It
but it's
does.
turned off. I mean,
It really happened.
My color, purple's my color, I mean,
yeah, we
who
had to,
decides?
they had to repaint it. They just thought they could do purple.
Mural on the side of a building that I find attractive is, but.
In somebody else's
And somebody
eyes.
thinks it's offensive,
Yeah.
yeah.
Welcome to America.
Yes, yes.
I just worry about policing it.
Yeah. It's a good point. We'll make sure it's objective enough.
I think we're ready to go forward.
I guess just as an idea, would something along the lines of, like, the sign has to be manufactured or something? Would that
And,
help with,
No, you could put slime on a manufactured board.
Yeah.
I mean, neon green slime, if you're a manufacturer.
Anything, as long as you're
yeah.
paying them. If you just get a piece of acrylic, it still goes into a professional sign.
all right, we'll continue to think.
Yeah, yeah. I'm starting to think outside of it, like, what could happen?
All right, so number 2, the structure frontage for calculating the permitted wall signage is the overall horizontal length of the outside structure wall of the establishment that fronts a public or private roadway and is multiplied by the overall height of the walls of the structure, of such structure. If the structure has more than one wall plane which runs parallel to the frontage road, the sum of all such wall planes may be calculated in determining the overall structure frontage. And so that's the calculation for the 10%. An identification sign shall be considered incidental, and one sign not exceeding 6 square feet may be installed by each tenant. One additional wall sign relating to the commercial use of a property is permitted on those facades of buildings that are not visible from a public way, subject to a maximum size limitation of 10% of the tenant space facade for which the tenant, or 10% of the building facade on which the wall sign is located.
No?
And I appreciate the feedback. I think that brings us to the end of December's sign discussion.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Hare. Go to agenda item number 8, public communication on non-agenda items. I believe there are none. Agenda item 9, monthly report, November 2023. Anybody have any comments or questions on the report that was provided to us? No? I didn't see a notation there for Hockey Land. Ms. Erickson, do you want to, announce the decision on Hockey Land?
Sure. So last week, our office was contacted regarding the possibility of issuance of a temporary certificate of occupancy. And we were directed and drafted a temporary occupancy agreement that requires numerous conditions be met by the restaurant and by Fraser Hockey Land in terms of getting some of the outstanding planning and engineering items completed within the 30 days.
I didn't catch all that. I just want to make sure I understand. So the drive-through window is not going to operate?
Correct.
Correct, okay.
Yep.
It's busy. Lots of cars there.
Yeah, I went to court on Tuesday afternoon, and it looked pretty busy, so, yeah.
Yeah, it's good news, I think.
We went for the breakfast buffet last Sunday, and it was pretty cool.
Was it good?
Yeah, it's very good, actually.
Good, that's great to hear. Agenda item number 10, zoning board of appeals, member liaison report. Commissioner Farina.
Well, last month we had a meeting. We had one item on the agenda, and the applicant, it was for a sign variance, and the applicant did not show up. And there was nobody in the audience, so we did not have a public hearing. And we were informed later after the meeting that we would have to notice. So my thing is to all of us, that even if there's nobody in the public to be heard, open the public hearing, and then close it. And but we've learned something from that. So nothing was done. We are meeting tomorrow night. We are having the state senator there, and I'm sorry. Yes, our state senator from District 11, Veronica Kleinfeld, is going to give Mark Pasick a presentation signed by the governor for all of his years of service in Fraser. We kind of spearheaded that. It's been in the works for quite a while. I think it's important for guys like Mark, who literally set up this board and the ZBA, and was there for, Mark is a consummate professional and knows these things just better than anybody I've ever seen. He was such a force that when I first came on the board, we used to have other cities come in to see the board and how it ran so that they could model their boards after our board. And it was a tremendous learning experience, and I feel very honored to be mentored by him. And I'm inviting all of you to be there. It's going to be a very short meeting, and the city council has been invited. I don't know who's going to show up yet from city council, but, you know, the senator will be there. She's our senator from District 11. And we're going to adjourn and maybe go out for a libation afterwards. So, please, all come if you can.
Is there an action item on the agenda, Commissioner Farina, or just a proclamation for Mr.
We
Steinberg?
have to reset the public hearing for either January or February.
Okay.
And I'm going to be looking for some input from both of you. Just, do you have enough time with the holiday coming up to meet the January, or do you want to move it to February? Since the applicant did not show up, I think it's at our discretion to do what we want. Now, I want to make it better for you guys. You know, I don't want to rush you guys beyond what we need to. That's it.
That's it?
Any questions?
You're meeting at 7 tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay.
We are down, you know, we're down one board member here. We're down 2 board members on the ZBA. So if you know of anybody who wants to be on the ZBA, the thing for the ZBA is you must live within the city. My understanding, is that correct?
I think Ms. Greenia would probably know better than I do.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. All right, so if you know anybody who, you know, who would want to serve on the board, we're looking for help there. Because as it stands now, if one person is absent, we do not have a quorum.
Thank you, Commissioner Farina. Okay, agenda item number 11, Commissioner comments and items of interest and concern. I'll start with Commissioner Meyer.
No.
Commissioner Farina.
Just what I just mentioned.
Okay. Commissioner Kyle.
Frank, if it's a matter of not being able to have a meeting if one person calls in, can you have a temporary?
We're looking at, one of the things they said is that we can have an alternate. And you can have a full board and then have an alternate member. But nobody's applied to be an alternate.
Okay.
So Cindy is out canvassing again for names. And she just updated the electronic board and the roly-poly online, right? And so.
But the alternate status has been approved by City Council, correct? Yes, okay.
They recently did that.
Yes, okay.
So that's in the new handbook, or we need a new handbook, or is that how do you do?
I'm hoping when we finally pick a date to do our joint training, we can get all of the new information together in one binder. ZBA member Menendez did bring in something for me that they had from the last training that was pretty comprehensive with
Right here.
everything in there. And I do think that there's been a couple of changes that have been made, so I'm hoping that we have an opportunity to get some more binders and just put those all together.
You know, you bring up a good point. I think that every new member coming onto a board should be given the 5-year plan and asked to look at that, because if you don't know where the city wants to go, how can you make intelligent decisions? And I think we should all look at the 5-year plan when we're doing that and see, you know, not just today we're looking at
5 years,
down the, what do we want our city to look at
which I've
in
never
the
seen the
future?
5-year plan myself. We have it?
Yeah, we approved it, sent it to the city council, and, yeah, we were all given a copy. Were we all given a copy of the
master
five?
plan?
Yeah, the master.
I cannot
Oh,
tell
the
you.
master
that.
plan.
Yeah,
Master
I don't know if it's
Yeah.
5 years specifically, but the
Well-
2021 master plan.
Right, exactly. I'm sorry.
I was, yes.
Do you believe that you don't have that, Chair Zarnecki? Do
I
you
have the master plan.
you do? Okay.
Yeah, we got it.
Okay.
5-year plan.
I just want to make sure, because if not, we can get that to you.
I wasn't following what
Okay.
Commissioner Farina was stating. So that was my confusion.
Nope.
Anything else, Commissioner Kyle?
No, I'm happy. I'm done.
Commissioner Warnick?
Just that I want to give my congratulations to Mark and for all his years of service and wisdom that was given to all of us. And I wish everybody a joy-filled holiday, since we won't be here till after that. And Merry Christmas.
Same to you and to all your families.
Commissioner Barr?
I want to take this opportunity to thank the Fraser Police and the emergency people. They have been absolutely fantastic. They were called twice. First time, my daughter was found unconscious at her home. They were right there within 2 minutes. She was hospitalized for 8 days. She had double pneumonia, and she was on life support for 5 of those days. Next time, it was at my house. I found my daughter unresponsive, and they were there immediately. This time, her blood sugar level had dropped to 21, and they knew exactly what to do. They took care of it, and then she did not want to go to the hospital, but they got it right up. I mean, they were just amazing, and I cannot thank them enough. I just want to say how much I appreciate their help in this matter.
Wonderful to hear. She doing all right now?
She's doing fine. She was at my house a long time. They wouldn't let her go out of the hospital unless she had somebody with her, and she just went home a few days ago.
Thank you, Commissioner Barr. Ms. Sayre, you have any comments?
No comments, Chair Zarnicki.
I have a comment too. You're doing an outstanding job on the sign ordinance, so we appreciate it.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Ms. Erickson?
No comments tonight.
Ms. Grenia?
I did want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, and I wanted to thank this board for always being so kind to me. You guys are wonderful, and you make it very easy to come and stay, and it's usually a good meeting, and I've done planning commission meetings for a long time, and you guys have probably taught me as much as anywhere. I did Farmington Hills for a long time, and I'm sure I've learned more here than I did there. So, that's all.
Well, thank you. A couple of things. I just want to make sure everybody knows that Commissioner Kyle and Commissioner Farina, City Council did reappoint them. Did you two get sworn in? Since you didn't know if you were appointed,
No.
did they have to get sworn in?
I don't think they did, and yes, they should, but they're okay now.
Thank you. You
Well,
reminded me of the Pledge of
thank you.
Allegiance. I'll remind
Yes.
you of that.
Thank you.
We're going to have to do this meeting all over again.
Actually, you're safe, because I do have confirmation from Mr. Denault that we're okay, even if you go past the
Oh,
expiration date.
right, that's true.
He's guaranteed me we're good.
That's true. What else? I want to say something about Mr. Steinmack, too. Maybe I do have a commitment tomorrow, but maybe I can rearrange it and show up tomorrow. But I learned a lot from Mr. Steinmack when I worked at the City of Troy, and he was the building director there. So he was more or less my mentor also. I guess that's it. I did mention something prior to our meeting to Ms. Erickson and Ms. Sayre, and I'm hoping that they'll check into the signage. I didn't know if the city, or maybe Commissioner Warnick, you know, does the city put up signage for proposed development? So residents who drive by say, oh, what are they going to put there? I'm going to call the city and find out what it is. We don't do that. We never
did.
have done that.
Never have.
Okay, all right. I think it's a good idea. That's
Yeah.
just-
It answers a lot of questions.
It answers a lot of questions, and I say
And
the
it
only.
gives the truth.
The only way
or
residents know
witness.
there's something going on is by reading a newspaper and seeing the public hearing notice,
If you
correct?
hear from somebody else, it gets filtered and watered down. It's not, then all of a sudden they're expecting this big
He's
thing, and
talking
all of
like-
a sudden it's.
Food for
oh, it's
thought, we'd
just
have to
that.
put it into the zoning ordinance, but food for thought. I think that's where it would go with the zoning ordinance, right?
Would it be something like coming soon? Are you talking like?
Like, what, I'm sorry?
Coming
What-
soon.
Coming soon, like a sign like that, like if something's going to be built, coming soon?
Yes, it would be a proposed development, and it might say rezoning request for information called the City of Fraser. Yeah. 'Cause otherwise, I'd say, how do residents know what's happening? So, it's just, I don't know why I've never thought of it before. It's very common in other cities, very, very common in other cities to let residents know what might be coming. So, and I guess I think that's it. I wish everybody happy holidays, and we'll meet in January.
Looking forward to it.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Boy, everybody's in a
Say
hurry.
moved by Commissioner Kyle and support by Commissioner Meyer to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any noes? Meeting is adjourned. Can't see the time. 8:10 p.m.